Take a swig.
It's almost that time.
Yeah, man, the Swig podcast,
Yeah,
man.
we gotta tune in.
Hey, man, let me grab this beer right quick, man.
Yeah, let me get my drink ready.
Yeah, man, shoot, man, they be talking about all types of on it, man. The lagers, the man.
There's some beers I ain't never even heard of on there.
We about to learn about them, though, shoot.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
What's up, world? It's your boy, the Bearded Brother, back at it again with another episode of the Swig podcast. Of course, by my side, I got my co-host,
Shani Hadia, the marvelous gift in the building. What up, people? We
you're chilling. What y'all doing?
we drinking some Nashville Black is Beautiful beers.
Yes,
So
Lord.
we touched on some Black is Beautiful beers with the episode with just you and I, and we
Yes.
did some black owned ones and just some ones around in
Country.
different cities.
Yeah, that we can get our hands on at least. Still working on that.
But now we bringing it to the Ville. We have 4 breweries released. So we'll be drinking Yazoo, Bearded Iris.
Living Waters and Southern Grist.
Yes.
But we won't be drinking alone, people.
We will not. Because we have people in the motherfucking building.
We in here.
Yeah.
What up, people? It's Centricia, the bougie black hippie.
Oh.
Y'all, listen, y'all might know her as AC.
Government name
She
dropped
is
on y'all. What y'all gonna
formerly
do?
known
Known
as.
as.
She is
AC.
evolving.
Gross.
She's coming out with her government name. But
Hey y'all, it's Tika May, professional hippie.
Hey, what's going on? This Jason, just up in here chilling. Jason Luntz, that's my government.
Full name. Hey y'all, it's Rachel. Just happy to be in the room.
Hey, it's Ben. Just happy to be with Rachel in the room, drinking black and beautiful beers.
Better.
Shout her out.
What's going on, y'all? It's Darren. Glad to be revisiting.
Hey.
Looking forward to more of this beer. And the living room is coming to Atlanta in 2021, so looking forward to that. Glad to be here with these people.
All right.
We're going to be talking about that, the living room in Atlanta and not Nashville, but whatever.
We'll let it go for now.
Yeah, go ahead, plug.
All right, my name is Justin Singleton. You may know me or you may not know me. I have Brews and Circles, which is something I have on Instagram. Follow me on there. It's cool, matching beer with vinyl. And Beer Taste of America. My goal is to have a beer out of each state in the U.S. with me and my buddy, and we got quite a few states to knock down. But we have a lot we already kicked back. So I love beer.
How many states you got so far?
We got at least over about 20. We got most of the East Coast and a few out west, but we got to knock out the Midwest. So yeah.
Man.
Do you all have to go and get the beer? Or
No.
other people can send it to you?
I mean, we would like to go get the beer, but we would like my people send it to us as well. So we'll get it how we live.
Okay, Alaska listeners, I don't even know if they might already have
We have Alaska on the map already. Fortunately,
Well, that's my goal.
That's one of the hard ones
Or
that
it's
you
Black
try
is
to knock out
Beautiful.
early.
I was like, I got a contact of a contact of a
It took
contact.
some time.
Might
but
be
we got
able to.
there.
Nice.
Jealous about that.
So, like I said, we're gonna be drinking the Nashville Black is Beautiful beers, and we wanted to bring some people around to really just talk life in Nashville,
Yeah.
Black life in Nashville,
Yeah, there you go. Black line.
Black life. We're not gonna go there. Black life in Nashville, little history, a little just talking. It was just really y'all about to have hear friends have conversations. Before we started recording, there were some interesting conversations going. Hopefully we can recreate those, but on topic. So if y'all hear say squirrel, we already have acknowledged that we are going off topic.
We are actually already there. So let's get started with this first one.
So first one on deck, Yazoo. What's your thoughts on Yazoo, Kramer? Where are you at with it?
I'm okay with Yazoo. It's definitely the OG of the craft brew energy here in Nashville. It's a pretty traditional style, so I'm not too mad about it. There's no frills or anything like that, but sometimes you like to add different things especially for this Black is Beautiful, which for the people that don't know is a beer campaign through the Weathered Souls out of San Antonio. They made a stout recipe in response to everything going on with George Floyd and the civil unrest right now that's been going on. Probably how long?
It's been a number of weeks now.
Yes, it's been a couple minutes. But yeah, just kind of response to that, and so a bunch of so this brewery down in San Antonio made a stout recipe, and a bunch of breweries come in and they take that recipe and do what they want to do with it, whether they want to kind of just leave with that recipe or they might throw a little razzle dazzle in there for
A little razzle dazzle. You got the glasses, man.
Yeah.
Give them the plastic. We got them drinking all the plastic joints. Me and
Keep
Kramer.
Reflex.
Me and Kramer fancy.
You know,
We got.
I'm trying to let the people know I'm there for them.
Tasting glasses.
So these are just renditions of Nashville's touch on The Black is Beautiful. So the first one is the Yazoo.
So out the first one has been poured up while Kramer was giving the rundown. I am interested to see like people's faces and
a lot of mixed
reactions here.
reactions.
I think you and I will be on the same page on this one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me give you a little bit. Theirs is just the Imperial Stout, so they pretty much followed the recipe.
I was gonna ask that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very traditional.
They-
Not even,
I can't say to a T because what I found that people have had to do is kind of adapt the hop order to their region or whatever their distributor has. So it's about 10 different hops and 10 different grains. 10 different grains, and then just the one Cascade hops.
mm-hmm.
And so you pretty much they're adapting the grains to whatever they can get. So there's going to be some variations, and then the water of the city will make it different as well. But what are your thoughts on the Yazoos? Who wants to go first? Who wants to chime in? And I can tell you that there are not really any smiling faces.
I don't love it, and I traditionally like Yazoo beers.
Do you traditionally like stouts?
Yes.
I'm not a huge fan of stouts unless they have some type of coffee element or a sweeter element or maybe even hazelnut. But I'm
okay.
actually surprised by Yazoo.
Yeah,
Okay.
this, I love stouts, and I feel like this is definitely a stout, definitely an imperial stout, but it's nothing that it's standard.
Yeah.
It's standard. Like there's not a, like she was saying earlier, like I'm accustomed to, the chocolate or the coffee notes or even a richer, smokier flavor and a heaviness. And this is not bad, but it's just not.
It doesn't necessarily grab you.
It doesn't grab me.
Yeah.
And I love the can. I love all the cans.
I love all the
This
cans.
says a certain thing that we've been saying forever.
That's right. We've been trying to tell
Yeah.
y'all. So hopefully beer will be able to give you that message.
I do think it's the stout beer for those who just like stout, and that's it. An imperial stout. Looking at the recipe, actually looked at the recipe. It's actually available on the Black Weather Souls website in the campaign. You can actually look at it. And I think they use the same stout. I think they just went straight off the recipe. Y'all just
Yeah, they definitely did.
They just went right by the book. And I can understand why, because, stuff like that, beer costs, and, supply and demand, all that jazz. We'll say that for later. But I can see why they might have said, I'm going to stick to the recipe and just sell it,
Yeah.
And that's what they went with. Like, so if those who, what's a stout that's most people drink? That's
I don't know. I drink Dragon's Milk all the time.
this was like in the store, like
Guinness.
Guinness.
Oh, yeah,
if you like Guinness, you'll love this because
Yes.
it's nothing
Yeah.
fancy at all.
Yeah.
It's just straight up stout. Bam, here it is. You're
But
not gonna
like-
get like bird's eye of the Phoenix rising sun flavor out of it. Like you're not gonna get random out of it, but you'll get a stout. That's what you're gonna get.
See, to Darren's point, like you like the milk stouts.
Yeah.
So that is different than this.
Mhm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? There's no creaminess with this one. You really getting some roasty notes, and that's
That's
really
about it.
yeah.
It really reminds me a lot of Dos Perros, honestly.
Okay.
That was one of the first craft beers that I ever really got into. And I still grab it every once in a while, a little bit of nostalgia here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, this kind of just tastes like this, but a little more stout.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
that's a good way
I
to
can
put
see
it.
that.
Yeah.
I guess the maltiness of it.
They did do a collab though in packaging with the Black is Beautiful, which
And I
kind of.
tore it up.
Oh man,
Oh, so
I fight somebody over that one. Like,
So
low
that
key.
one was good.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Whew.
And that was
I let it
with
sit for a month
Untitled
too.
Artists, I think. Was it?
Untitled Artists.
Yeah,
I let it
Untitled
sit for a
Artists.
month. So
I
I
didn't,
don't
it
know
didn't
if
last a weekend. I'm sorry.
So I'm proud of myself then. I was like, I kept it in my little like. I have a box that I aged some of my stouts in, and it stayed in there for a few weeks. I'm actually really proud of myself after
I
I
feel
sat
like
back.
they didn't release it that long ago.
Or like a couple weeks ago. Wasn't it?
It's been about 2.5 weeks.
I don't know.
That was like
Life
it's set for a month.
Everything feels like a month right now with everything going on.
COVID,
So,
surprises.
Kobe, you
So-
take your time right now.
right now, I don't know
Yeah.
what's up
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Like,
Have you all been to Yazoo's, at least the older brewery? Because they
Yeah.
moved
Old and
this
new.
year, right?
Yeah,
in the,
Uh,
in the last year?
yeah, in the last year.
Yeah.
It was
Last
probably
year.
like mid to early to 2019.
Okay,
I
yeah.
was lucky enough when I very first moved to Nashville back in '06. I've been before I moved. That was the first brewery. Like I didn't know anything about craft beers, and that was my first experience to go to craft beers. I got to visit and tour and all this stuff. I was like, this is great. So that kind of had that
Catapulted.
impression to help me like move. You know, move from where I was at to like that was part of it. I get this different type of beers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't been to the new one, but the old one was
The old one's
it was
really
great.
nice.
It was nice.
The new facility is
It was
nice.
a good, it was a
Yeah.
good experience.
And the new one, when you get a chance to go to the new ones, like
Really.
leaps and bounds better than the old
Really?
space.
Awesome.
Now I've heard for Yazoo, I've heard a lot of their funk series, but you know we'll jump into that once we visit. I haven't really visited I went and picked up beer from the location, but I haven't visited and had a beer there. But it's funny that like I think majority of us here know Yazoo as that staple in Nashville.
Yeah.
And if you know beer, I mean, if you drink some kind of beer, you're familiar with Yazoo. Really, even if you don't.
I think this to me is it's just what Yazoo is. They're like
Yeah.
consistent,
Consistent.
but I think Yazoo's dope. I love what they do for the beer community and how they represent themselves in
Yeah.
Nashville. But I never, when I'm at an event, I never get, oh, they got Yazoo. I never like got excited to see it. But I'm like, oh, this is better than them having Heinekens. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, but to me, that's what this tastes like. All their beers, that's why you said it reminds you of their original one. All their beers are like this. They're not remarkable.
Yeah.
They're definitely not bad. They're like a good introduction stouts. This is a good introduction stout.
Yazoo makes the beers just like, you know what, I'm just now leaving, you know, the regular beer and stuff. Let me play on the safer side a little bit and let me try something a little different with my taste buds. Now, don't expect too much to go think beyond that. Like, you're not about to get the marshmallow puff man inside your drink or anything like that. Or, you know, you're not about to get, you know, Hawaiian tropical flowers in your beer. No. They don't get all that. You can get, like, you know, okay, this is introduction level. Like, you know what? I'm gonna be your pusher man. Here's, you know, try this real quick. Like,
Yeah.
So they make gateway
yeah, it's like
beers.
gateway beer.
Yeah.
They
It's
stick
like-
with the fundamentals. That's
So let me
important.
ask you: would they be a good? Would this brewery be a good brewery for an introduction for Black people?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ah, wait. Okay, all right. Let's stop.
It's still Democratic.
Can we do a raise hand of? Can we do a raise hand if they would be a good gateway situation for Black people? We have Ben, Rachel, Jason, and Tika saying yes.
But I think it depends on how you're introduced, because for me, Yazoo was the first brewery that sponsored an event that I was actually working. And so that was my introduction into something different aside from beer gardens back in Knoxville. And that's why I appreciate them, but I think they stick with the fundamentals. And I like that about them.
I
Okay.
would say it's a good introduction because it's basic. Before you get out to the bougie world of being stout drinkers
Marshmallow
or anything
Man.
else.
It's right before you.
Before
go
you get
Bougie-
to marshmallow,
bougie
you
is
get
marshmallow
marshmallow
man.
before they get filtered.
To get the basics, this would be the best place to start for basic like what we're drinking right now. It's
Yeah.
very plain. It's very like you go to Guinness.
No
you go to
frills.
Guinness. That was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Like this is grocery store beer,
This is really good.
but it's a craft beer. You can start drinking
It
craft
is.
beer, but it's Zazu. It's a craft beer.
Okay.
You get it at the grocery store.
I can get that.
It's a good introduction to that friend who thinks he's being adventurous because he drinks Stella and he brags about it. Oh, bro, you got that IPL?
Yeah.
I got a Stella. Look, I don't say no Coors Light. And he's looking at you. And you gotta be like, yeah, I'm glad. Stella's a nice little lager, but try this over here. Try this.
Good job. You're drinking
Right.
fizzy water. It's like,
Slow clap for
Yeah.
Yeah,
beer
and
pill
then
in my
give me
opinion.
Yazoo, and then he might, oh, okay, and then he's gonna like, wow, this is something different than something standard that I thought was exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, you like Stella, you need to try it. Let me get you on this Yazoo.
Okay, all right.
But if you're a beer person, you come to town, yo, let's go to the brewery.
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna take it.
So I don't think it's a great introductory place for new beer drinkers, especially new black beer drinkers, because they don't have good flavor. Like the beers just aren't good. So it's like
Fix that
I mean,
Okay, so I don't like to say that beers aren't good.
Yes, okay.
They aren't your style. They aren't your type.
They don't fit your
They're
palate.
not. Yeah,
They're not
they're
your
not.
kind of beer.
Yeah.
There you go.
We'll go with that.
Yeah. Now, as a collective, we can say whether or not it's good beer or not. That is real. But as on an individual, that's just how I like to operate. But go ahead.
I agree with that, but in this case, I'm going to stick to what I said.
Go ahead. I
She said what
I said.
I'm going to reclaim my time. But so I think that there are other basic beers that have better flavor that would be a better introduction to black people. But that's just my opinion.
Okay.
I would go with the personality of the person, to be real honest. Because, like, if I want somebody like, yo, I want something different, like, do you enjoy flavor? Do you enjoy, just experiencing new flavors like that? I won't take them to Yazoo for that. I mean, if, like, somebody who's, like, really scared, like, I want to try something different, but not way out there, like, the different type, like I was mentioning earlier, like the Fluffo Sandal from Pipeworks or something from Wicked Weed, because, they give you, like, all types of flavor, like, this stuff is creative, like, this is great. I won't take anybody who might appreciate that. I won't take them to Yazoo. Now, somebody who's just like, okay, I like beer. Yeah, can you introduce me to something decent? Yeah, and they want to work on a little bit on the closer, not so wild side. Then I'll take them to Yazoo. But yeah.
I don't know. I think I just feel like you got to put your if you're trying to bring somebody new into a space they haven't been in before, I'm just a believer in you pull out all the stops.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so this would not be for somebody who I'm trying to bring in, trying to bring in more African Americans, Latinx, especially women.
We like flavor.
We like flavor. I'm
like
going to
our
make sure
seasoning.
you have flavor.
Yeah.
And this isn't the best representation of that, although this is a your standard, basic kind of imperial stout, but it's not. I want to hook you, and I also want to hook you so that you, whatever you have, you keep trying to chase. It's kind of like crack. You keep trying to chase that. Keep trying to chase that high.
Next score. Yeah.
And you want to keep exploring, like, damn, this was good. This is the first one I had.
Right.
What else is out there?
And on top of that, like most people, black people, at least when I would introduce a beer, everybody said it's an acquired taste.
Yeah.
Everybody's heard that when they first start drinking any beer they ever had. With craft beer, I'm not trying to give you that acquired taste. Like, bam, this is what it is. This was on the label, and you're going to taste this.
Yeah.
And once you get them on the back, it's like, oh yeah, so
Cool.
But
now I'm trying something else, something different.
I
But,
definitely agree with you,
Yeah.
Justin, on that. It's very personality oriented.
Yeah.
Like, if someone's like, I never drank anything before. Like, I don't even like beer. Maybe, like, you can go into Yazoo that way. It's like someone that has no exposure to it can be like, all right, here's a slow walk into the world of craft beer. You don't like it there and then, it's like, okay, maybe it's just not for you. But, like, if someone's like, oh, I like craft beer a lot, no. Yazoo's not for you. Like, you will go to these other places, which we'll mention later in the episode.
Okay. That's why you said like a good introduction. I think a good introduction because like being to go like you said based on the person, it's a personality too. I would say that was a good point.
Yeah.
Because I've introduced other friends to like try to bring them into the craft beer, and I'm like, man, this tastes like shit. Like, why are you drinking? It's too dark. It's too heavy. It's too this and then you're like, and then you give them something like this. I'm like,
think it's delicious.
yeah, in my mind it's great, and they're like, this is like shit. But then you give them something like this, basic standard, like. Okay, this ain't too bad. I can try this. Okay, we'll try this.
They used to beer flavored beer.
Yeah, let's try this one.
So the next one that all of y'all have is Bearded Iris. So this one is also Imperial Stout. As far as I know, there's no additives. There's nothing.
It has hazelnut in
it. It does have hazelnut.
I
was gonna.
It's not too heavy.
Most of them kind of gave gave like a little breakdown of what was in it. This one instead says brewed for justice.
Oh, I like that.
So I really appreciate that. Like, make that known. I can taste the beer and be like, oh, there's something in here.
Justice.
But let me know, right? This tastes like justice.
Is that really justice?
No, this
Justice and freedom.
You can
Yeah.
definitely taste the hazelnut.
I would say that the initial like bite, like right when you first hit it, you're like, kind
Yeah.
of perks up a little bit, like,
Yeah.
You
What is
can
this?
even smell the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
you
it
can.
smells
Right.
good.
It just smells
So-
really good.
That was a light year jump.
So Kramer is a stout drinker,
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't necessarily care for the Yazoo. Like it was solid, but
Yeah, it's very Yazoo aligned. You gonna get what you gonna get. Like boom, stout. Here you go. Keep it moving. Black Power, I guess.
in comparison to this, what's your thoughts?
Oh, this one is, I don't want to say better. It has a different, more profile that I prefer in my stouts. I like my stouts to have a little flavor, a little swagger to it. And Bearded Eyes has been really good about all the beers, even stouts to their IPAs that have like a little just like, okay, I don't know what it is, but like beer's just got that little extra punch with the hip little turk in it, and then you just kind of hit a little bit differently. So like
Those
I
are all
appreciate
boxing terms if y'all didn't know
Yes.
Yeah, I was
Gotta
like,
throw a
he was-
punch, you know. If you want to
I
knock
thought
somebody
it-
out, you punch through the person,
Say
not
thank you,
just the
because
person.
I was like, I saw him moving, and I was like, okay, he's
Mm.
really shaking something in here.
that.
For
Now we
me,
were out here twerking, you know.
for me, this is like really good. It's not too sweet. The hazelnut, if that's what's added, it takes a little bit of that bite off that the original recipe had, and it offers just a little bit of smoothness. So I'm a fan of this Bearded Iris, but full disclosure, I love Bearded Iris's beers. They make my favorite beers in
They don't play.
the city.
I will say that it tastes better the second time around. The first time around, I think because I still had Yazoo in the back of my mind when I first had it, I was like, hey, it almost tastes the same. But, you know, now that I have it the second time around, maybe it sat for a little bit longer. I like this one a little better. I can taste the difference.
Okay. So have you all been to Bearded Iris? Is you have been to Bearded
I'm
Iris?
a big fan. I like the way it looks. I love the setup.
The mill,
Oh,
yeah.
the mill too. The mill, like it's just the way it is, and it just like looks so. It's kind of a little grimy. I just like it a lot.
Uncut.
It's raw and cut, and I
music
appreciate that they do mostly IPAs because
Yeah.
I'm like maybe you're a stouts. I'm an IPA fanatic, so I'm like
Mm-hmm.
every time I go to the double IPA, they're just doing different citrusy things. Like
Yeah, that's how I feel.
and then but if they do have a little lager or a pilsner or a little stout, like when they throw
Yeah.
that other one,
It's good.
it'd be like. They basically like the
Why
kind of
can't y'all
person that
do more
can hit
of
three
this?
and do dunks, but they only sticking with one, and then when they do the other, you're like, oh.
I have.
And their IPAs hit. They hit.
They do.
Yeah.
I'm not a
Yeah.
big IPA drinker, so like I like getting IPAs from there and a couple other places in the city, but like they're number one for IPAs if I'm gonna go the IPA route.
Okay, all right. So we acknowledge that their beer is good.
Yeah. Oh, as far as the stout though, real quick, to me it felt like maybe it was because the Yazoo was just so unremarkable, just plain, not bad, but just plain. that one little hazelnut, it just added something to me. I was just
That's the creaminess
Yeah,
to it
the-
as
the-
But I don't know if I
It's
drank it.
gonna be like Bam.
Yes,
That's
that's what it was. But if I drank this first, I don't know if I would have noticed it as prevalent.
Okay.
I think I noticed
I think
hazelnut
you
because I think
You would
okay.
have noticed it. Yeah.
Okay.
So
You would know.
they on the can it says brewed for social justice. Do you know of Bearded Iris being involved in anything socially justice in Nashville?
Maybe now.
I mean,
Oh.
now, honestly, I don't know too much of any breweries in.
No, that's a part of the conversation.
Yeah,
I mean,
honestly, because well,
well,
I'm a
I
little
was
bougie drinker too, so I do kind of like not drink a lot of Nashville beer. I do go to different places and travel and get beer.
same.
But when I do, it's just
I try to
like
as well.
I don't see many institutions in Nashville who really sticks their neck out for doing it unless they're designed to do that. So
Right. And
I think you just want me to stop, but yeah.
I've worked in fundraising for a few years. I've never heard anything from Bearded Iris. I mean, I think maybe if
Have you
Yeah,
heard it from
love.
any of the other ones here? While we're saying I don't want to just call out Bearded
no,
Iris.
nobody has taken the initiative. I mean, I think, you hit up some of these folks and ask them for donations, they might give them to you. We've gotten donations from Jackalope before, and from some distributors like Lipman Brothers, but from the breweries themselves, like standing up independently and just saying like, hey, you know what, we're for Gideon's Army or the Equity Alliance or anything like that. I've never seen them associated with any of those organizations, and I mean, it was my job to stalk folks and see who they gave money to. I didn't see any brewery names.
But I feel like I do see Yazoo at a lot of events.
Now, Yazoo do be everywhere, though.
I feel like I always see their beers, and I know that so maybe donating, but that's not the same as like really supporting. But
I was gonna say because they are like the largest craft beer brewer in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So they are gonna be the ones that you see. They're damn near the face of
Nashville,
not just
Tennessee,
Nashville, of Tennessee,
That's what I mean.
of Tennessee,
and the face of in-kind donations for those types of events. So
yeah,
I could say definitely Yazoo, Mayday, and Jackalope have been the only ones that I've worked.
Now, is it requested or have they? And I do want to preface that I'm not sure of any business that goes out, and that not to say it does not exist, but goes out and actively says I want to donate to you.
So I work, not necessarily
but they
racial
do.
injustice,
Okay.
but definitely other causes. You know, so I've seen them do it for other causes. Those three ones that I named. So you may have different experiences. So I want to develop it though.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of CEOs have their own sort of pet projects, the things that they're really passionate about, and they will go out and seek organizations that they want to support. So, I mean, possibly there's some breweries out there whose passion is social justice. But if Bearded Iris is feeling social justice, it has not been apparent in the world of people who work in 501c3.
Another thing too is like a lot of people they may donate, but they don't like to brag about it and put it out there saying, hey, we donated X amount of dollars to this cause, whatever. So like, I mean, Jay-Z does it all the time. So there's the thing, like a lot of these corporations, businesses, I mean, they put money to the side, or if you dig through their website, they have certain initiatives that they donate to. But they're not like, okay. It's almost just like, why do I have to put out that I'm doing all this stuff? It doesn't seem like I'm really doing it for the right purpose.
Right. And we've talked to a couple breweries where they've stated that, like, I am trying to figure out, or as far as like the brewery, is trying to figure out how to donate or how to get involved, but not have it seem disingenuous or like they're pandering. But my thing is, I told them, I was like, listen, we looking for y'all to do some shit. So like long as you are doing it with a clear heart and also your actions, like you're not also like donating to children in cages, like, you know what I'm saying, to keep the children in cages. Like it will come off as genuine, but also don't wait until a George Floyd gets killed to make that donation. Reach out.
Right.
I think to Justin's point, like you should brag about it because every company now has a social responsibility. So you have to, in order to reach new customers, in order to maintain your current customers, because all of us care about something. So if you're doing something, let us know what you're doing, because I'm more inclined to patronize your business because you are doing something. So I think if you want to stay in business, if you want to stay relevant, you gotta shout what you're doing, because otherwise nobody knows.
And I think you can shout what you're doing while also staying true to what you're doing.
Correct.
So for example, so we were at Crazy Gnome the other night, right? So let's say Crazy Gnome did one of these, right? But then let's say they took it a step further and they said, okay, well, we're going to be supporting by creating our own Black is Beautiful with Weathered Souls. We're going to do that, but we're going to take it a step further. We're going to start having just open up the brewery. Let's have some classes. Let's have some opportunities for people who we normally don't go after, or just period. Like, this is how you brew.
Right.
This is what this is
glad
about.
you said that.
This is the process involved. These are the ingredients involved. This is how you create a business plan if you were to open a brewery or a tap room or a combination. I think it has to go steps beyond, okay, well, these proceeds go to Black Lives Matter. These proceeds go to Gideon's Army. Those are helpful. But what are you also doing to bring more of us
into your community?
Right? Exactly. I'm glad you actually said that, because it's the next question is like, okay, what's next? What's the okay? And like, what are you gonna do? You release your beer. How are you gonna continue to ride this momentum of diversity, inclusion, however you feel about that phrase and use of that terminology? It's just, how do you keep that going? And I think you spoke to a very good point. It's like, okay, you release this beer, cool, it's been 6 months since we released this beer. All right, let's start doing classes, which I actually really appreciate. A brewery out of Atlanta called Orpheus Brewery. They have a class, a 6-month class, paid internship where they teach you all different types of beer industry things, from production. You can learn how to can, how to brew, to working front of house, working in sales, how you get beer in different things like that. And that's like a good indicator of like what to do next. There's multiple things. You don't necessarily have to create the next internship, but it's like you said, create the next like amount of classes. Create Cicerone, which is just the beer equivalent of wine sommelier, and teach how people how to study and prep for that, and even take the that test to get in to prepare at least for level 1 or something like that. And so that's kind of what we want to try to like ask you guys, like, what's next for these breweries that release these beers once their release kind of slows down? It's kind of like, okay, we released it 6 weeks ago. Okay, we need to start thinking about other things, like how can these breweries keep that momentum?
Yeah,
I'm gonna come on the devil's advocate side now too. So the other thing is that, you know, if this is what we want to, you know, embrace ourselves in like this beer culture, we got to put it out there too. Because I always look at, you know, everything's a two-way street. Like, you know, people can say that they can do all this stuff for us, but if we ain't out there, like, you know, you got like the Swig podcast. Y'all going out there and put the pavement and say, hey, I'm interested in this world. You know, like, get me in here. Like, this is the things I want to do. And then you notice that, you know, those brewers, oh, come on in. They may not have a full program, but I mean, it's nothing for me to go talk to a brewer at a brewery and they be like, oh, well, I don't mind talking to you. Let me have you call your phone. Like, it's nothing. So the other part is that, you know, we also have to be able to put ourselves out there and be comfortable with doing so and say, I want to be a part of this culture. That too.
Yeah, I think
because they may not have the correct path of creating it. You could be that one that creates that whole program for them, and they had no idea how to get it done.
Right, and I think that's important to know. And this is not one of those if you build it, they will come type situations. Intent and engagement are really important in that aspect. And I think it leaves it open for them to choose anything along the continuum of workforce development. That's important. So we talked about the classes to be the equivalent to a wine sommelier, or even just learning how to brew beer so they can take their next step. Kids that are in college, or teaching people so they can do it as a hobbyist or as entrepreneurs. So I think those opportunities are important. But again, we do have to be out there to grab them. Very good point.
Yeah, and we gotta hold their feet to the fire though. Like, putting on your can that you're brewed for justice is a bold statement, right? Yeah. Like, and these breweries are getting hit up by people who want donations regardless of whether or not they go out and seek it. So as an organization, what they can do is decide where are they going to put their money. Instead of waiting for somebody to come to them to say, oh, I want a donation for my event. If you're really about justice, you're going out and you're figuring out who is also about justice and how do I make sure that I'm sewing into that.
Yes.
Because if you're going to be about justice, it does require action. It shouldn't require the community to come in and say, like, hey, something wrong has been done, and so now it's time for you to put Black is Beautiful on your beer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody should be somebody's job at the brewery, as far as the marketing or HR or whatever. That's something that should be somebody's job. Just
I mean, even when you choose a marketing company, like, okay, I'm oblivious as a brewery owner. I know how to brew beer, and I know how to sell it to customers. Right. Yeah. That's what I'm at. But my marketing team or whoever I'm tapping for that, are they knowledgeable of the different communities and how to market to them? Yeah. You know, you have to be intentional, even down to who you choose as a marketer, or like even they have a social media manager, right? You like if you're bringing somebody in at front of the office or work in a bar, it's like, okay, but are you tapped into other communities, or you only just you just Green Hills? Okay.
Right.
So everybody in Nashville knew when I said, oh, y'all just Green Hills, everybody's like, yeah. Y'all can just think about it. If you make a kind of statement like that, what is your Green Hills in your neighborhood?
Where are the
in
rich
your
white
city?
people at?
Yeah.
In your neck of the woods. That's what we're talking about.
And I think it's really about shaking up like the stigma behind it, because I think automatically when you think about craft beer drinkers, you think about those who live in a certain community, or they may, they like certain types. Like, I don't think if I was a craft beer owner, which I'm black and I would go to the black community, but off top, I'm not gonna think that a lot of black people drink my beer.
Where the man.
So it's really like, I really do think that they need to go above and beyond and reach out to those who are part of the culture, because this is all culture related. Like, I mean, we can know if we're beer drinkers, we probably gonna know a brewery's about to open up within 4 months, 6 months in advance. We know that stuff because we're part of the culture. So if we can drag more people into the culture, it's like, yo, you need to try, like we say, bring people in. And once they get, have that one little hit, they like, all right, well, damn, I'm gonna keep up with it. I want to keep up what's happening in the culture.
So what I'm finding difficult in Nashville, and before I dive into that, we poured up Living Waters. I know everybody kind of wants to sip. Everybody want to keep going.
Yep,
we poured up Living Waters. So y'all take a sip. I'm gonna finish my thoughts, and then we'll talk about Living Waters. But my experience in Nashville is we already are not a very black city. So there's already a very small community of black people in this city. Trying to figure out or trying to introduce black people to beer is, of course, during COVID is rather difficult. But these breweries, they have to introduce black people to beer first. So y'all talking about the classes. If a brewery created the class, who would be the first people to sign up? 20 spots in that class. It'll be gone so quick by non-people of color.
Those who inspired the brew.
Now, that's why I don't know if we're ready for classes yet. We still trying to we still trying to introduce people to beer. So rather than offering your time or this is how you brew. Now I understand like we're at a different level. So I think that's something that can be set up. And a lot of breweries are very open to helping people figure that out. But we're at a marketing standpoint right now. You're just trying to get black people intrigued by beer. And in Nashville, the breweries are open to it, but we are looking at such a difficult culture to like navigate because again, we're not like Atlanta where there's a slew of variety.
And there's something for every type of black person.
Yeah. Now there's variety here. There's that same variety, but let's just say there's 1 to 3. You know what I'm saying? Nashville to Atlanta as far as black people, and that number might be even larger than that, honestly.
I probably think it'd be a lot population for sure. Yeah.
That if you're looking at that, it's like, okay, I'm looking at an even smaller community here in Nashville of beer drinkers. So how much effort would a brewery put forward to getting black people to drink? Now, they pretty much plateaued on that white audience. Those people who gonna drink. So they better come forward. And the last thing I'll say is I'm not sure that it's just craft breweries who need to do this. If we're talking about AbBev, who like they own all of these breweries and all of these corporate Anheuser-Busch, all these people own some of these
smaller
quote unquote craft breweries. Well, if that's the case, then they need to invest the money because you got it. They need to invest the money on this marketing to help black people because we can definitely roll through our corner stores and see, some malt liquor being advertised, some Budweiser. Advertise some craft beer. Give people an opportunity to say, I like this or I don't.
Right. And create some representation, I think.
They got to create that price point, too, because, look, if I can get a whole suitcase for $15, I'm not about to get a whole bag for $15. Like,
listen.
Why do you have to this way?
That's very real.
Get a suitcase. I'm having a good time.
But here's the thing. There's a reality that craft beer ain't for everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not for everybody. So I don't I'm not trying to get, if you going in there and I'm just like, you buying that Schlitz malt liquor, you probably not gonna buy no craft beer, to be all the way honest. So I
I just went
understand.
back to college.
If I
The
get
dark
a
days of
suitcase
college,
of Natty
when
Light
you said that.
for $13.99,
Can I say
I'm
Natty Light on the Sunday?
I went to
I'ma have a
a
good
PWI,
time.
so Natty Light hits a little different in my ears than normal.
Yeah.
It was like when I hear Natty Light here, beer pong, frat party.
Right, cringe.
Yeah, like,
Embarrassment.
Well, guess what? You can
Bad
have a good
decisions.
time off of $13.99.
Existential problems.
Natty Light still has respect in the craft beer
And they
community.
got that pink lemonade joint that's real good.
Oh, that
Yes.
lemonade joint.
I ain't gonna lie.
They still have
It
respect
is
in the
good.
craft beer community. Like if you're gonna drink something.
So let's say Miller Lite. Or
I feel like I hear what y'all
Wait,
saying.
can I pause that? Can you
Yes.
like make a note of what you're about to say? I want to give people a chance to talk
Let's
about
hear
their.
He took his mask off.
That's
He's got a
fine.
little talk.
Right.
That's fine. I want
But then I
to.
got multiple.
Because people are knocking out their taste of living water, so I want to be able to give them an opportunity.
Sip that
Yeah.
living water.
But please don't forget your thought. My ass will need to write it
I
down. So that's
do
why I
that for
suggested.
myself, actually,
That boy
'cause I
talking
got
about
thought,
his
too.
here. Listen, here is just
Hey,
a figment of my
Is this the
imagination.
standard recipe?
Mm-hmm. This one.
So they added loads of chocolate. With living waters, they actually they brewed the beer. There was an off flavor in it. They weren't feeling it, and they rebrewed it. So I guess it worked out because at the end of the day, they had they were they were able to release kind of with everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were going to do it before the anniversary, but with again having to rebrew it, they end up releasing it after the anniversary.
What part of town?
So this is we just went over this Trinity Lane, East Nashville.
Out east.
I'm out east, East
Out
Nasty,
Out east.
Out
East
east.
Nasty.
So I have never said this before about a beer. I really like the aftertaste of this beer.
Okay, you hear that, living water?
Yep.
I've
Living Waters.
never
You got
said
a new
that about
customer
beer.
right here because they got.
I really
They
like
got
the
some good
aftertaste.
stuff.
I do.
Same. I'm thinking
From beginning
it's
to
like
finish.
the finish. It makes this beer really interesting.
Oh.
It's a smooth ride for me. It's very consistent. There's nothing different from up top. Like when it first hits your tongue, and then after the back part, you don't get anything different. It's like a nice, more consistent stout. And I can deal with this. This is why I'm gonna drink a whole can of. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna share. I mean, I like sharing my beers and stuff like that. But
I ain't
right
sharing
here,
this.
Right.
y'all ain't coming to my house and having this.
Let
Like,
me just tell y'all.
Also,
Oh,
y'all
back in
say
the fridge.
Living Water wanted us to know, like, Yazoo's cool, Southern Grist is cool, Bearded Iris is cool, Revolutionary
We the
Brewing is
niggas.
cool. Right. But we made this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually really love their whole
you
build
can,
up.
You can
to this.
taste that.
Yeah.
Like, it's personal.
Expound on that.
Yeah, I love like their response all the way up to their release because pretty much right when things started to pop off, they hit with the Blackout Tuesday. But they also was like, okay, this is how we're responding as a brewery / coffee shop / meeting place. This is what we're going to do. We're going to be a part of this. We denounce racism like they came and was like, this is what we doing. If you got a problem with it, take your ass somewhere else. And
Is that because the neighborhood there? I mean, is that why the owners so open-minded?
I think it was.
I think they're in good works. I think both those breweries get it, and they're both East Nashville.
Well, it's about who runs your social media.
Right.
So I'm gonna be honest. Like and we'll reach out to Living Waters to be able to speak on this, but I don't know how the owners feel. But I know the person who runs their social media that the owners trust to carry their message. That's how he feels. Yeah, so when I was at the brewery again, I went for like an 8 a.m. meeting. And I started drinking a little early. He was
there's no
judgment.
This is a safe space.
He probably just want to know the details. So
I'm drinking that beer at 8 a.m.
So.
Right, she told me that too. I was like, wait a minute.
This was a Saturday.
Oh, girl.
Yeah, no, but I posted and the server, he was like, the beer tender, he was like, oh yeah, I run the social media. And so I had already seen that he was cool, and then his shirt was like, love black people like you love black coffee. And so the shirt was from a black, it's coffee with an X, but it's like black coffee and with an X. .com, I believe that's it. But when this goes, I'm gonna really make sure I have the right website. But the guy's out of Memphis, and he's just trying to change the narrative of the coffee game. And it's so important that like black people just change the narrative of the spot that you're in. Like that is it. That's all you got to do. If like that's not your lane, then don't try to venture out of that. But it just showed for me. That's a whole like side note.
That's
like
a whole other podcast.
Parentheses.
That's a whole other episode.
Let's talk
We'll
about
write that down.
Like,
we'll expand on that, y'all.
But he was repping that shirt, and it just let me know when I walked in there, I felt comfortable. Right. I felt like, but from the message that he put on social media, walking in there and seeing this black ass shirt, him repping a black ass company, like it made me. I was like, okay. I had to hit him with the whole. Can I take a picture of you in your shirt? Like,
right. I want to kind of expound on that. I think it's just like goes back to what we were just talking about with getting black people into beer. You get into most things because you see you in that situation. Mm-hmm. Like you see it.
I saw me the drunk part of me in the situation, but other people need other pieces. Go ahead.
Right. No, I agree with that. But it's just like you see yourself in basketball because a bunch of black people play basketball. You're like, oh, I can play basketball. I can play football, or I can play or do whatever because I see someone that I can love and respect and kind of like model my whatever you're doing. So it's like you don't really see that a lot in breweries because we can all walk in separately. We're going to get all different experiences. I can go on the right day. I can catch Shawnee. I can catch Jason. I can catch Darren. And then I'm like, oh, there's black people that go here. But you might go there on another day and be Chad, Susie, Tom, Dick, and Jane. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, well, I don't know if I want to go in this space or like, oh, I'm the odd man out all of a sudden. So it's just like, with Living Waters, they did a really good job of that with your story. Like, I can get that feeling when I walk in there. I'm like, oh, okay, y'all are here for everybody. Like,
they ain't have no black people behind the counter now.
True.
Like, it was a white guy. I was, yeah.
Oh, yeah, true. But it's like you see someone seeing you
and
at the same time.
And I did want to draw upon that because when we were talking about marketing earlier, I think it's easy to start saying, like, we need to hire a different marketing firm and we need to market to black folks. But there's another part of inclusivity that starts with whatever job that you have at that particular moment. Mm-hmm. So if you are the bartender, you can decide, where am I going to buy these particular products? Everything from my t-shirt to my napkins to my glasses. Mm-hmm. Am I making sure that I'm investing into communities of color, to immigrant-owned businesses? You know, you may not have a marketing budget. It may be your bartender that is doing your social media. It may be your housekeeper, your janitorial service is also doing your lawn outside. All of that makes sense because these are scrappy, independent-owned businesses, innovators. So they may not have a huge staff, but that doesn't mean that there's not opportunity to create inclusivity. Like when you walk into a space, if you can say, hey, I walked into this space and I didn't feel weird. I didn't feel afraid. I didn't feel like I had to like be a certain type of person in this space. Then you've managed to create inclusivity. And I don't think that you can do that without close relationship to a diverse audience. So if you're not hiring people of color there to work in your back room, in your front room, if you're not like interacting with immigrant-owned and black-owned businesses, you're not going to be able to authentically create an experience that is inclusive of an audience that doesn't already look like the people who you're paying.
Question: what needs to be done to get us to, I guess, look for these jobs? I know what I would do, but for like just some more random old Joe or whatever, like
no, that's
to
real.
get people. Because I mean, honestly, I look at things 50-50. Like, yo, they can have all these opportunities, but the first thing they're gonna say is like, well, we had this available for the people of color, all minorities, and nobody participates. We had to yank the program. It didn't make dollars, didn't make sense. So what?
How many black Starbucks baristas do you know? there are black folks who are applying for these jobs. A lot of times these breweries are located in gentrifying neighborhoods that are within walking distance of black folks.
Yeah.
But who are they hiring?
I mean,
Bam, I got some a note on that.
So what do we do? Like, should they?
on that too.
I'm just trying to help them find the answers, because I feel like just like how certain things you did with certain groups, like y'all have the power to do certain things, y'all need to do it. I feel like we all have the power right now to speak and say, hey, this is what you need to do to get us in there and get these jobs. So, like, what should we do?
Well,
what should we tell them?
One thing, if breweries want to find a way to do it, is they can look at a company like Slim and Huskies. Now, mind you, they are black owned, but they intentionally said as owners, we want to hire people that live within walking distance of this location. And these breweries, because the point you made is true, majority of them, at least their first brew house, majority of them are neighborhoods that were once predominantly black in Nashville. They're in gentrified neighborhoods, and a lot of black people still live there. So one thing they can do is reach out to other businesses and look at how they did. There are businesses that make decisions. We're going to hire 70% of our staff from this local community. And when you say that, you actually speaking that changes your direction on how you find people. Because now when you're outside and you're fixing, someone's walking by, like, what's going to be here? You're like, oh, well, we're hiring. Like, you're actually communicating with your locals because you want them to be a part of it. That my advice to breweries would be that.
I just want to add there's some numbers that came out in the article previously. Let me make sure y'all get y'all next one. So it's 1% of breweries are black owned. Front of the house is about 4.5% of black staffed, and then breweries. So it's 1% of breweries that are black owned. And if we really break that down to who has an actual brick and mortar, there's probably less than that. But so that's the 1%. Then who works in the breweries or front of the house is about 4.5%. But if you look at the neighborhood a typical brewery comes up in, the neighborhood is at least 12% black. So you have a decent amount of black people around you, but you don't hire them. And I know that Darren had a little something to add into that.
No, I was and this is a perfect segue that everybody's contributed to, but it's the same thing that we find like in corporates. Well, I don't know about, I can't find any black candidates. Yes, you can. You're not looking for the right people. You're not looking in the right places, and you don't have the right people in your circle of influence. And that's all what it comes down to. I was listening to the sister who's now with Founders and who's head of their D&I. And she was talking about when she came in, she's like, the issue is changing. You can say, oh, I posted this, and no black people applied, no Latinx people applied.
That's what they're going to say.
Okay, and that's what they say. But if you don't have us as regular friends, colleagues, associates, you're not doing your part. And I think it requires, like, having friends who are outside of Billy and Karen and, Mackenzie. Like, you got to go outside the realm and start to really invest in not only people that look different, but also, or may be different, but training individuals. If you're not looking and then you're not providing the education or the training, you're going to get the same kind of people working your brewery, handling customers, managing whatever, and you're not going to fully maximize the potential because, we all know, we've seen the numbers, a more diverse, no matter what industry you're in, a more diverse workforce yields more coin. And it's better for you when it comes to your values as a company, your mission. Like, it's better. And they have to take, it's that concerted effort to say, you know what, this is a blind spot. We need to figure this out. I need more black and brown friends.
Yes. That's what they need to do. I got a solution.
Tell them.
Come on.
I'm going to give you all free knowledge.
I want to hear this.
Free knowledge here.
Free knowledge. Let's go.
I tend to do that from time to time. So you think later. Most people want to become teachers. Why? Well, Well,
Mhm.
they've probably been
I've never
inspired
been
by a
a
teacher. Like, you know what? This
true.
person did this for
I had
me.
somebody.
I've been inspired. Dang, I'm gonna be a type. I'm gonna be a teacher. Most people want to be a musician because what?
Inspired by music.
You're inspired.
Yeah.
My person.
So
Yep.
if I was a brewer, if I had to own a company, and I want more black people in my industry, I need to inspire some black people. Now, if it was me, I would find a way to, you know what? I'm gonna teach I'm gonna sponsor a fermentation class at a high school. Still legal, where it's to the point where I'm not teaching you how to make a beer, but what I'm going to do, I'm gonna teach a fermentation class.
Chemistry.
So,
Yeah,
matter of fact, in biology, because my biology teacher,
There you go.
Slick made beer for a project one time, and she laughed at us because it was a fermentation project, and we didn't really drink. But that's a long story short. Don't find out where I went to high school. But all the fact of the matter is that they were introduced to it. So just imagine somebody like, you know what? I'm gonna sponsor a project class. I'm gonna sponsor this class once a semester. They allow us to come in here, teach fermentation. Bam, there you go. You know what? Kids, oh, this is cool. I'm doing this all the time. Yada, 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 yada. Bam, you got a kid that likes it, want to do it every day? Give them a scholarship to MTSU because they have a brewer program over there. They have a class over there. Or to any other college, or you'll sponsor them, say, hey, as soon as you graduate, just like not Teach for America, but Call Me Mr. program, where if you want to be a teacher, they pay all 4 years of your college, you can work for me a couple of years. Do the same thing for that. Call me brewer. You know,
Okay.
I'm going to give you a
I
scholarship.
wanna
and
go
bam,
there.
it is.
I want to go there.
Bars.
But we just poured up the Southern Grist.
Oh, it's so good.
It's delicious.
We
I
just
have
poured up
feelings,
the
though.
Southern Grist.
She said it's so good.
And it is brewed with vanilla.
Yes.
Sure is.
So I want to
That's
give
sweet.
Kramer an opportunity to give his thoughts because he had
No, he about to fanboy over it.
no.
Fanboy over the flavor and the product that you actually get. This is fire. What I'm upset. What I'm upset about is how they marketed it. And it's been kind of about what we've talked about. It's just like, oh, I put out this program, but no black folks or brown folks applied to it, so scrap it, move it on. But with Southern Grist, if you follow their social media or if you're on their newsletter, on their email, you almost know every release by Tuesday. They're releasing on Saturday. With Black is Beautiful, it just popped up on a Friday or a Saturday, and it was just like, hey, we made it. We just put vanilla in it. But
That was one of your big things of
Yeah.
just putting the vanilla in it. Because I think that release came a week after, maybe a week, maybe two after the dirt pudding.
which was made with chocolate pudding, gummy worms. And then you're just like, oh, here's Black is Beautiful. We just threw vanilla in it.
That was
Yeah. You ain't noticed it? No. Hope you don't notice what we try to do. It just felt...
They do stouts, but they're typically pastry stouts.
Yes.
So it was part of
Okay.
So and I was my thing to Kramer because he expressed this a little when Southern Grist dropped. My thing to Kramer was like it cost to put the fancy pastry stouts out there, and if you're not getting any return on it, then it's hard to really see that ROI. And this, at the end of the day, is all about it. At the end of the day, is really all about return on investment. So if all of your investment is going to somebody else, you don't want to do the most cost.
I understand that, but it's like also at the same time, like immediately the next week you're like, oh, French toast, peanut butter stout coming out.
No.
I feel like
Crazy Squares, but I understand.
Crazy Squares, yeah, I
Crazy
forget.
Squares,
Like,
but
I'm just saying, it's just like.
So what do y'all like? So that's what he says.
Well, I don't know a lot about all the beers. I understand hops and the gravities and all that good stuff, but I do know that they were investing toward people having the sugar because this is a little sweet for me. Yeah. Just a tinge.
Oh, this is dessert beer.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And I love the product.
Oh yeah,
like that's not what I'm upset about. It's the product.
This is typical for the stout that they put out. This This is like a normal
thing.
Sweet.
Yes.
And
it's good. Okay. I'm not upset about that. It's just like you put so much effort in all these other beers, and this one, even on the marketing side, it was just like it just kind of popped up on Saturday afternoon. This is released today. Get it at 10 a.m. on this day, like what? Today.
Were they the first ones to release?
No, they were not. They were.
Yazoo was first. I know.
Y'all was
I know.
It was Bearded Iris.
I thought Bearded
It
was
was
last.
Bearded was last.
Okay, I bought theirs after Yazoo. So was
I think Yazoo and Southern Rest released on the same weekend.
Okay, yes, they did.
I don't, but on all of it, yes, like it would have been good, like a little bit of a build up. I guess I'm not fully upset with the release. It's a good beer. To Tika's point, this one right now, like what the at least what I'm drinking, I don't know if she caught the end of a beer of the can or something, but it's not as sweet.
Oh, this is sweet.
The first time I had it, just a couple weeks ago, it was very sweet. And so I'm like, my bad guys, I meant to turn the can upside down before we poured it. Because it is rather
trip.
Yeah.
Now what happened with what's going on with turning the can upside down? For those who may not know.
The sediment
of the flavors will go to the bottom.
Oh.
It's kind of like vinegar. You gotta like shake it up a little bit.
Yeah.
We don't shake the beer can up.
No.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm not advocating that, but I'm just saying it's settling. Apparently this is settling, people. Like this is selling of stuff in the product.
So,
just turn it upside down. It'll mix back together. Do not shake it.
Especially if there's adjuncts like vanilla or there's hazelnut or something like that. As I was pouring the beer when I got to the end, you could see the adjunct pieces like When I poured the last one of the Bearded Iris, of the Living Waters, you could see the chocolate like really come out. So the person who had the first taste versus the person who had the last taste could be different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And not necessarily a bad thing. It just
it's just different.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's the beauty of beer. Like turning the can upside down will make a difference.
I would say
Temperature. Because even on the Living Waters, the second one, I pulled it right out the cabinet. It worked out really well. I think you and I mainly had that one, but it was pretty cool.
Like South, you want to enjoy a little bit warmer than most.
Kramer, I'm upset now too. You made me upset about the whole marketing thing. Because, see here, think about it.
Right?
I was mad at it before, but now that the backstory, I'm like, crap, man. Because I knew about y'all because they marketed online. I saw in the beer groups about Black and Beautiful in town. I didn't know they released the same weekend as Southern Grizzly. That was the case.
That's all I'm
made
saying.
2 trips and went out before because you're all right. Southern Grizzly, they'll have it up on launch like Tuesday.
Right.
Get your big white ticket on Wednesday. By Thursday, it's shut down. And we come pick it up by 12 o'clock on Saturday or something like
and
that.
This is really interesting because they use a lot of Black culture in their marketing. I was just looking at their social media page. They have a beer called Money Moves. Who came up with that?
What's that Tim's one they have?
Is that the light skin dude?
Happy Tim.
Happy Tim's. Like they have Timberlands on their can design.
So y'all really like us, don't you? What about the, love your Black people like you love your Black culture on your beer labels?
That's right.
Get on. I ain't say it. Get on. Get on, Rachel.
So Rachel is pointing. I got you. Yeah. Rachel is pointing out the hypocrisy in some of the breweries and how they market and what we experience. So. In Nashville, as we are all living in Nashville,
they're just not getting it.
People thought I was tripping. I was like,
honestly, if we weren't having these conversations now about it would be hypocrisy then. You tripping. But since we having the conversations now, maybe somebody's hearing it. Then it's like, okay, where do we
was tripping?
And on that note, I am gonna pause. I think this is a good place to wrap up the first half of this conversation. I think we're going to kick off the second in a second. So, y'all be easy.
We'll be back.
We'll be right back.
Lift your glass to the Swig podcast and keep toasting.
Take a swig.